Hey, welcome to the Really Charlie podcast. Tuesday night is the routine night for the Really Charlie podcast. And we are definitely going to give you a show no matter what. I don't know what's going on with my guest, but we will wait a few minutes and then we'll talk shop and give them time to get on the air here. So, um tonight was a special night for Scott Jenkins, neighborhood neighborhood friend of mine, lifelong friends, and here he is. So hold on one second. We're gonna add him to the stage. Oh no, my prayers were answered. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you know what was happening? I was on my phone and I realized I went like 4 of the 5 steps and I forgot step 5. So I went onto my laptop. So now I'm
Okay.
in.
All right, man. It's definitely an honor to have you here.
Oh, yeah.
Um, especially we got a long history of being friends, living in the same neighborhood,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world for a lot of reasons. For guys like you, people in our neighborhood are still close friends of mine and yours, and you don't have that in too many communities. So, um, but thank you for coming, thank you for joining me. I know things are busy with you, and the Paulo Paris is officially on the staff, and he recruits so many different people for me,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's amazing because with some of the guests that I've had on there are amazing guests, including you. So I gotta give a shout out to Paulo Paris for doing that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, because he's like my brother from another mother. I mean, I think I knew Paul since I was 4, like 4 years
Mm,
old, man. We
damn.
went to kindergarten at T.A. Green, and then I had left for Parker Street School, right? Because they
Okay.
had the busing program till
Mm,
fourth, but then I came back 5th grade, 6th grade. So
yeah.
yeah.
I was fortunate, and what's so weird about that, right? Where you are and how close you was to your elementary school. That's how close I was to a Acushnet Avenue school.
Right.
I mean, I was real close, and so to see that everyone was moving around and getting bused, it was kind of weird, And
It was.
I'm like, you can't pick anybody like 3 blocks up or whatever, it's crazy. So, um, first and foremost, very proud of you, for everything that you have accomplished in your life.
No, thank
Um,
you.
yes, and one of the things that I'm very impressed with is you always maintain um a physical fitness. You always done right by your body. Always in good shape. And I want to talk to you about fumbulation in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
Now, you got JoJo, Ralphie, Skippy.
Yeah.
Um, who picks up all the guys? Who gets you all together, man? Who does that when it
So
comes to?
actually it was really JoJo, Skippy, and Ralph, right? They
Yep.
were they were like the drivers because I think Skippy came to my house like every day, every day. And
Mm.
remember, Skippy was no angel, right? So he would bully me. And I
Yep.
would be like, oh, I gotta answer the door. But
Hmm.
fortunately for them, I have a long history with, the Riveras and Corday. And the thing that the thing that happened to me, which really I think changed my life, was that I was hanging out with all of my brothers, Boo Boo Scott, Derek Rose, all of them dudes who were like in JoJo. They were all like 3, 4, 5 years older than me,
Hmm.
right? So it was really just me and Paul. But I used to lie about my age, right?
Yeah.
So I used to be like, no, no, man, I'm like 12. I'm like 12, right? So what happened was I went out for the Verdi Vets baseball team,
Yep.
And I think it was at the time it was Gordon and Coach Donlin, right? Sean's father.
Yep.
And they were like, "Hey, Scott, we're not going to pick you up this year because we have too many 12-year-olds." So I cried. I went home, and was sulking. And I ended up playing basketball at Salvation Army.
Mm-hmm.
JoJo comes running this was a couple of days later. He had gotten my birth certificate from the town hall, right? The city hall. And he's like, "Scott, you're only 10. You're going to be 11, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't 12. So he's like, "You could actually play Pee Wee football."
Yep.
And I had already played Pee Wee football when I was 8, right? But at that time, I'm too young. I quit the team. But when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, okay." And so, yeah, man. So that year that I was like, I was 11. I still played Pee Wee football, right? I think it was 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, me, Hector Barrows, Baby Donald, we just killed it, right?
Nice.
And because Paul and them were all older than me as well, because my birthday was in December, and they already turned 12 and 13, so they were already playing with the midgets. I was still with the Pee Wees, and that rolled over into high school, where it was like I was a freshman in high school. But I still played midget football while they all played freshman football. But we all caught up with each other when I became a sophomore.
Nice.
Yeah.
The craziest thing is that I like the fact, and I always mention this with people from our neighborhood, is we played sports, but we changed with the season. Whether it's baseball, we're playing baseball, we're playing basketball. Whoever was on TV, that's what we were doing, and it's amazing that I think that it was just a routine. It carried on from the older guys to younger guys. Were always playing. But there's one thing that I know that you guys had a problem with, just like we did. We always had one dude that had shoulder pads but didn't have a helmet.
Right.
So I always, and someone was always, we try to get a helmet, even if it was a bigger helmet. I mean,
oh yeah,
we did something just so they can be protected, because running into guys like you and Baby Donald, and Hector was the guy that was, he wasn't worried about nothing, because most of the time he was trying to outrun everybody.
Right, he was too quick.
Yeah. So all right. So,
but yeah, I mean, I remember, again, going back to Joe, they got me my helmet. It was twice as big because it happened to somehow get into our hands from the New Bedford High School, right?
Yeah.
So I had to wear this winter hat with a pom-pom, and that pom-pom would be sticking out in the back, but that was the only way I got it to fit.
In the neighborhood, who are you picking first on your football team?
First, it's probably going to be Hector, man. I've never, and it was only, when you grow up with kids, you're just like, okay, they're my boys and stuff, and we play together. But I've never seen somebody with so much, now that I think about it, I mean, that kid was had phenomenal athletic talent. And, that's as we're playing, schoolyard football, right? I mean, when you get to the high school, I played with Danny Kahn, who was like a man child at the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And Kippy was just phenomenal himself with his speed and quickness. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you about those two guys since you mentioned them. Been trying to get Danny on this podcast for a while. Can't do it. Kippy, I'm gonna do it. I got this. He got his own title, so he don't want to be kind of on the screen or anything. I said, look, we'll shut your camera off, man. Whatever, he's got so many stories, man. He just tells so many stories. I said, that's why I want you on the podcast,
Oh yeah. I mean, it was because here's a story for you. So I didn't take my SATs.
Yeah.
Right. I was sitting in the locker room. It was Saturday, and Coach Lilladall came, and he's like, "What? Why are you here?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Why?" He goes, "You're supposed to be taking your SATs,
Yes.
right?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know." He goes, "How you going to get scores for college?" So what happened was, just through some connections, they had come down and looked at Kippy on film for UConn, and
Yeah.
they were like, "Hey, who's that receiver?" In
Mhm.
the film, and they were like, "Well, that's Scott Jenkins, but he didn't take his SATs." But fortunate for me and connections is that the one of the coach that was recruiting Kippy, Russ Burns,
Mm.
he was an old friend of Lance Garth, right? The district
Okay. Yeah.
attorney, who was an old friend of my mom's. And so the whole connection was made, and they were like, well, he could just go to school with Kippy. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I remember Kippy's father and mother. We all drove up, and that's how I got to UConn, man.
Yeah. There's
Just through Kippy.
now actually someone is because of this podcast and advertising it, somebody wants to talk to you about UConn, and so I will talk off screen, and I'll just eventually, um, let you know who it is. And because of the podcast, they were like, "Man, can I talk to him?" I said, "Well, after the podcast, I'll send him a text and see what's what." But it's a good,
Okay.
great athlete, great parent of an athlete, and wants to talk to you. So I'll give you the contacts. You know who they are. You know the family. So it's
Yeah.
not anything. I'm kind of not throwing you a curveball or anything like that. Michael Kahn says, "My man Scott, bad man, great athlete, great person," and I
Yeah.
agree with that. Right? I agree with that. That's been you all your life, and um you capped on people, you laughed with people, you had fun. We all had fun, right?
Right.
The
Right.
one thing when wherever you were, right, and Mike Jones song comes on, what are you thinking?
No, I know. When that song first came out, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna hear this forever now." And even today, people were like, they don't ask for Mike Jones; they start singing the song, and then they say,
Yeah,
"Where's
yeah,
Mike Jones?"
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. He is he is the first person. I mean, instantly, I just like, oh my god, and your brother's always been good to me, and
Right.
fascinating person. Um, actually, did where did he, how did he inspire you when it came to football or
So
keeping in
yeah, it
shape?
was it was crazy because again, I was with mostly with JoJo and Ralph and them, right? Michael really he didn't get into sports. He dibbed and dabbled in it at first,
Yeah.
and then because of just the way we were in Bay Village, right? He had to go live with his father in a Acushnet. he
Okay.
ended up he ended up going to Fairhaven. But I got to tell you, my brother had phenomenal athletic talent,
Yeah.
and it's too bad. I think even from what I heard, he went out for the track team and broke all the records, right? But
Mhm.
the problem was education wise, you're a
Yeah.
little bit behind and things like that. So that wasn't he couldn't pursue that athletic route.
That's cool.
But I mean, yeah, when you get
Great.
beat up by your older brother every day,
Yeah,
you
there's
gotta learn. You gotta just learn.
there's no doubt it hurt. So there's no doubt, but it actually, helped you out, especially when you're deciding to go play freshman football at New Bedford High School, and you're not worried about things because guess what? You're going against some athletes just in your own neighborhood that prepares you for that. But we're
Yeah,
not second
exactly.
guessing it because you know I got a rude awakening when freshman year, but I was actually in Florida when I began my high school career. And in 2 days, I didn't know what the hell a 2 days was, right? So I get there and I'm like, oh my god! And so I'm wondering why my cousin Calvin Peanut didn't tell me, my dad didn't tell me, no. So I went and then went home and then came back. I said, oh my god! So it was exhausting. I was playing football in the beginning in Florida. So that was the craziest thing. It was hot and it just
Right.
was
The heat.
crazy, man. They had these little birds in the grass, right? They were like prickers or something, right? So if you got tackled, you fell on them, right? So and you see and especially, I mean, nobody's worried about it. You got people got scabs all over their calves, their legs, their arms, everything, and
Uh-huh.
it's no big deal. You don't have coaches dabbing them up, "Hey, you got blood." It just get out there, right? So, let's let's talk about Coach Littledoll was my coach also because I came back home and I was able to play some football for the high school in my senior year, and Coach Littledoll was still there.
Yeah.
Um, one of the greatest compliments he told me, he said, "If I had 10 more players like you, we'd probably be undefeated."
Ah,
And,
nice.
so it really stuck with me. But my playing time wasn't where I wanted it to be. So, when he said that at the Durfee game, I was like, "Damn, man, coach, you could have showed me that. You could have showed me. All I want to do is run the ball and score for you, you know."
Uh,
But I was just, special teams and doing that thing, and that was me. So,
yeah.
um, so now you're at UConn. I'm trying to put all this story together. You decide you're gonna go up there. When did you know you could hold your own at UConn in the collegiate level?
Well, that's what was funny because when I first got there, I mean, even I'll never forget. There was this dude who was on the line. His name was Barry White. The dude was like 6'7",
Hmm.
and the freshmen go up the first week to get acclimated. Then the alumni come in, right? He walked through the door, and Kippy and I looked at each other, and Kippy's like, "I want to go home." Yeah,
Yeah.
so they had
Yeah.
some big dudes, right? And so
Mhm.
then what happened, when we all went out and put on some equipment, I was just they were hitting hard. It was the hardest hitting I've ever seen, right?
Yep.
You go from a high school to a college. Now at the time, UConn was Division One AA. They weren't
Yeah.
Division One like they are now, but still, I mean, dudes were flying, sticking each other. And then what had happened was uh, I did not, I didn't, because I was a walk on because of that whole didn't take my SATs, had a
Mhm.
walk on, and get into UConn first as just a walk on, and then I earned the scholarship after they saw me play, and that
Yep.
was, I think, the thing. I think when I saw the actual players, the receivers, it just, you get that little Bay Village attitude, like, oh no,
Mhm.
I know I'm going to make it here, because that's what some dudes back in the high school won't call them out, but was like, I don't know if you go to UConn, you're not going to make it there, right?
Mm. Yep.
Just too high of a level. But I said, well, let me go prove you wrong. So that's what I did.
Mhm.
My boy from Wareham, Nicky Fernandez, was there at the time too. He was hurt, but he kind of, gave me kind of some of the, things to look out for, and, how to just maneuver like around the campus, things like that. Because you got to remember, Kippy and I are from New Bedford, and as much as people don't think, like, New Bedford's a city,
Mhm.
right? When you go to the city and you go up to UConn and ain't nothing but stores in the country, I mean,
Yes.
that hits you hard too, right? I remember
Mhm.
my godfather, Jack Pimento, who drove me up. He was
Rest
like,
in peace.
yeah, rest in peace. He was like, Scott, you're in the country because all you smell is this cow shit, right? So we got there, and no, we got acclimated. I got to tell you, I didn't. I probably cried, knowing my man Kippy was leaving and he wasn't going to stay. Right.
Man.
What was funny, you talk about 6 degrees of separation. So Kippy and I were in the locker room. I forgot what day it was some practice, and Bobby Johnson, the tall Bobby Johnson,
Yep.
right,
Yep.
comes in with this dude who's like 6'11", and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my brother." And I became best friends with Jeff King, Bobby Johnson's brother, who,
Mm.
when we started reminiscing, I was like, oh shit, you know what? We went to Parker Street School together. So he
Wow.
went to Parker Street School. Then he moved to Michigan,
Hmm.
right? And that's where that's where he grew up and everything with his mom. But then yeah, we became the best of friends, man, and became
Nice.
actual roommates, right? So, that was my my career was mostly, I got to tell you, I was hurt most of my years at UConn. I
Yeah.
had this I have this arthritis disease called
Yep.
ankylosing spondylitis, and it caused like the sciatic nerve damage down my legs. So I lost all my lateral movement, things like that. But I was able to just time and time again get in some games and play a little. And but what had happened then was I was as far as education wise, I was able to go try and get my master's, and so because of that, they took me on as a graduate assistant coach. And
Mm.
so, as a graduate assistant coach, that's when I was able to coach with Steve Spagnola. At the time, he was our defensive back coach at UConn.
Very nice.
And yeah, and so he kind of showed me, how to, hours of watching film, breaking down the film, putting it all together, getting the scouting reports going, and all that. So, yeah, that was a nice kind of pleasure knowing that where he's gone in his career, and he was kind of my little mentor back then.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Seems like a great dude, and uh, I just I love football stories. I like stories about our city, New Bedford. Um, uh, Linda's on there, and she says, "Hey Scott, I'm Roy's sister," and which you know that, right? And she says,
Yeah,
"Remember?"
thanks. Yeah.
She says, "Remember when I babysat you and your brother, Michael?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I had my mom took care of me, man. She gave me some babysitters that, you know what? I fell in love with them. I had Terry and Jerry Pina. I had Lisa. I had
Nice.
Lisa and Sarita. Oh my God,
Yeah.
Collie's cousin, Collie Martin's cousin. I had some good babysitters, and so it was pretty good. And Linda, if you was my babysitter, I probably have a crush on you anyway. Hey, Corey Stelmark's on there. He's saying, "Don't you know the Celtics are playing?" Yeah, we do know that. We are sports fans. But we definitely have to get this on. We got a few more questions there, Corey. I know where you're at and where you're watching the game. So, but Scott's very important to me. So, all right. So, let me lead to the modeling and our friend Todd. Did he lead you that into that, or was it something you were already doing and then he grabbed you up for the
Yeah.
modeling?
So what had happened was, I ended up, moving out to California. And fortunately for me, Carlos Martin and Todd took me in because I had a bad situation. I couldn't even get off the airplane my first night. Couldn't get off
Mm,
the airplane. Again, that arthritis disease had caught up to me.
yeah.
So my first week in California, I spent in the hospital. And that first night, Todd kind of stayed with me over there in General Hospital. So after getting out of that, just hanging around them dudes, and I was just like, oh, you know what? Let me try, some of this extra work, just for the money and some of this little acting and here and there. So I dibbed and dabbed, and next thing you know, I'm on Young and the Restless, and but
Nice.
yeah, but at that time, my wife Jill had gotten pregnant. And she was like, "Oh well, you have two choices. You can become an accountant,
Mm.
or you try and be an actor, and the acting
Yeah.
ain't paying you right now." So,
Hmm.
so yeah, even though I still was like kind of doing some theater work and things like that, and I had to get serious with the accounting profession, pay those bills, man.
I love it. I love it. So Linda says Charlie too funny. Yeah, it's the so the acting and Todd, I mean another guy we're proud of. He was on the podcast already. Um and we end up going to Mikey Montero's studio, which is downtown, and we did uh we did a podcast and
Ah, nice.
but
Yeah.
I think we left so much on the table, and Ron Andrews was on it, so we had those Bridgewater dudes on it.
Uh-huh.
And it's just I love those stories. I actually go after them. I'm always trying to go after the sports stories in our neighborhood and where it leads. And because of sports, it's led to me to where I end up being. You know, it just happened to. It taught me a lot. It taught me about being
Hmm.
a team player. And for 30 years in law enforcement, you have to be a team player. You got to figure it out. You have to that semi-military kind of role, and it worked out for me, because I got along with people and I try to do the best I can.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, I
and
mean, sports, not only does it teach you, it teaches you teamwork, right? It teaches you teamwork. It teaches you that you gotta, even though you may not like whoever's on your right and on your left, you kind of gotta all get along, get on the same page, and it's all about winning. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. What's Corey have to say? He says, "Have you seen American Horror Story?" Uh, yeah, they have
Blonde
two
apples all
dudes
day.
definitely stealing your vibe, blonde afros all day. Listen, Corey, don't be a hater, man. You could have been a wingman, but you couldn't go past that section of Bay Village, man. I'm only joking. Corey was on there, and I had a good time with him. That a few of my friends, our friends, had said you got to put him back on, so I'm gonna bring him back on the
Oh,
podcast.
nice,
Um,
nice.
uh, Paul Gooms, Paul Gooms Jr. is gonna come on in a month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get him on here. Um, I told him about you coming on. He said, "Yeah, Scott's coming on, good athlete." He was very fascinated um, with the what all I'm doing, and I had talked to him. I said, "Man, I didn't realize that Paul grew up in the West End.
Mm,
His grandparents in the South End, but I seen
right.
him. I seen him a lot. He was older than me and you, um, so I can't wait to get him on. There's one question I ask all my guests, right?
Hmm.
Who would you like to see on the Really Charlie podcast?
Uh, Donald Tavares.
Yep, he was on.
Oh, man.
Him?
So I'm late.
Yep, him. Michael Grant.
Yeah, Michael Grant.
Sonny Silva.
Yeah.
Michael Kahn. The Steel Brothers came on. One of my very first podcast, and you know, uh, I like. Yeah, actually, they came on twice, and it was a. So Corey says, "Dodgy."
Oh, yeah.
Listen, you, I listen. You know what?
That'll be a 3 hour podcast, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's lived a fascinating life, and I'm proud of my cousin, man. I love him like a
yeah. I
brother.
am too.
Love him to death.
He was actually one of my bosses, and at the funeral home, and
Yeah.
but I would never see him. His pay level was it is what he is, because how many times we see him on TV at the Celtics game? He's a front row. Ain't no cheap tickets over there.
No, they.
Yeah. So, but Dodgy, good friend of mine. I love him, and great story. So, Donna was on. So anybody else?
Hey, well, we got to get Kippy on.
Yeah,
Shoot,
yeah,
if you need me to call him and talk to him, maybe I can give him a little nudge,
yeah.
get
You
him
have
on.
to, man. You
Right.
have to, because even you know, uh, his little brother's been on here too, Vernon.
Oh, okay.
So you know what? I'm saving a space for him. It's on the top shelf. I'm not.
Hmm.
Kippy's no slouch, so I want to put him on the top shelf, and I don't put anybody else there. I'm just waiting for him, just waiting for him. And the let me see. So what are you doing now, Scott? What
So now I actually, a few years ago, I was with Disney for like 20 something years,
Okay.
in finance, and now I'm in finance with Samsung. So I had to, Disney took me from LA to Connecticut with ESPN. Then it took me down to Florida with, Disney World. And then now I'm here in New York, Manhattan.
Okay.
Down the street, I work right down the street, right across the street. I work in Penn 1 building, which is right across the street from Madison
Yeah.
Square Garden.
Nice.
And I work for Samsung, same deal, senior director of finance, overseeing all credits and collections and advertising and all that stuff, man.
Yeah, my mom's first cousin, Manny Grace, he's up in at Disney in LA. And
Oh, okay.
I can't I can't remember his title, but CEO, he's on upper level and he's doing well, it makes me proud that a lot of Massachusetts boys are taking off, leaving home, untying those apron strings and just, going for it and doing right. Because you guys are getting looked upon and looked at by a lot of people. Um, so New Bedford Creole says Randy Montero. All right, I'll work on that. I get anybody on the podcast, and I love fascinating stories, so inspiring stories. And there's one thing I wanted to do is give you your flowers while you're standing. I don't want to be talking later on when you decide or I decide or I'm not around. I want to give you your praise.
Let's hope not, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I mean, I'm struggling with this gray hair already, man. So
yeah, it for me it stays here,
yeah,
and
all
it's
in the
not
beard.
it's not touching up top, and I'm glad for that. But I'm not afraid to go gray. I really I like it. And so if it happens, it happens. I'm ready for it.
There you go.
The what was I gonna say? All right. I just want to kind of close with this story, and that's the New Bedford High School Hall of Fame. When you
Hmm.
get notified of that, how's that happen? What happened?
So I think so. If I can recall, I think what had happened was they had notified me, thanks to Preston Perry. I think he was pushing it, right?
Nice.
But then, I think COVID happened.
Hmm.
So I think then COVID happened, but then right after we got out of COVID, they put it back on, and I was able to get in. So
Nice.
that was a brilliant night. Like I said, seeing the Johnson brothers there and everybody,
Hmm.
those are all my heroes as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like I said in my speech, it's like, when you saw them on the court or on the field, you're like, I want to dress like them, want to run like them, want
Hmm.
to be like them, right? And so that was a good moment for me to see them there, and get inducted. And again, thanks to Paul and Preston and all the dudes
Hmm.
who kind of pushed it. So
Yeah, and it's I'm actually trying to do that for um couple of our friends, and one one guy is in Fairhaven, and he should have been in there a long time ago, and I don't get it. I really don't. Um, but Paul Gomes Jr. trying to get him in at Voke,
yeah,
and didn't understand why he's not there. So, but we're trying our best, and it's all about gathering the stats and producing it and showing that you know people are worthy, and you're definitely worthy of a lot of things. But one thing, I for some reason I'm remembering you in a track uniform.
yeah. So okay, so let's talk about track. 'Cause I was like a Steve Larger. I was slow, bro.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
don't think if I broke 4.9 in a 40, that would have been my fastest day ever, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't get the feet. But I was able to at least, Steve Gardner, he taught me,
Yes.
a couple of things on how to work out, how to work on my running and things like that. So that helped out a lot. But yeah, that was, I think, wait a minute, I think I did go to the States on the triple jump for some
Yeah.
reason.
Mhm.
Nobody else could do a triple jump, but I had that type of coordination. So I think that helped me out a little bit. Scored us some points at least in the States.
That's right, man. That's right. I yeah. The crazy. I don't know where I seen that picture of you at track. Um, it has to be Coach Gardner. That guy kept everything,
Yeah, yeah. I think he
and
posted something like during my birthday or something like that. He had
yeah,
posted
yeah,
and Paul sent it to me. So yeah.
yeah. He was on it. He was on the podcast. So I'm
Nah.
making my rounds, and I don't even know how many episodes I have, but I've been doing it since 2020. And
Oh yeah. I wish I had known earlier, man. I
yeah,
just had come across it. I think somebody has sent me a link to one of your podcasts, and then I was like, oh, I didn't know he was doing that. And then
yeah,
Paul sent me that text. So
okay. Um, the how's the family? Everyone good?
yeah, they're down in Florida. They're enjoying Disney in the sun. So
Yeah,
while I'm up here, we're trying to break the cold spell here, back
yeah.
down into the 30s for some reason. I don't know what's going
Mm,
on, but
okay. Yeah, I know it. Kind of give us a little taste and then take it away from us, and so and let's see one other story, and we'll close with this, Scott.
hmm
Um, so you mentioned earlier about Corday,
yeah.
and I know this woman went up the block and talked to you and said, Scott, you're doing a bike ride. Did you steal that 10 speed or you had it in
No, that was yeah, that was one of my gifts there, right? To
yeah.
myself, right? Because again, going back to JoJo skipping route, they had given me the newspaper. They gave me the paper route. So they gave me the paper
Mm,
route first in the neighborhood, but then Skippy gave me the paper route for Bo Vista. And that was like a gold mine, right?
yeah.
Because you didn't have to deal with outside. But I had saved my money and bought that Huffy, right? But that
Nice.
Huffy with those sponge little blue
Yep.
padding and all that. So yeah, yep. And
Actually,
that's that was one of my if there's ever a day in memory is that first bike ride, man. That was phenomenal seeing all those people and stuff. Going
in
down to
fact,
the beach, going down to Hazelwood, finishing on. It was
yeah,
just a beautiful day.
sure
It couldn't
was.
have been any more perfect.
Um, you had an assistant with that paper route, and that was Donald Lesser. How'd he make up?
Right? I think that paper route passed like several hands, man.
Uh, so, all right, Scott. In closing, what do you got the camera, you got the mic. You're totally used to it. But what message you want to give to folks?
It's like I try to just be like the sky, right? Whether it's clouds or no clouds, sky doesn't complain, just keeps it going, right?
Hmm.
But just a shout out to New Bedford, man. I again, it's like I get emotional just talking about it because I miss it so much, right? I've gone on my journey around the
Hmm.
country, living in different places, but I got to tell you, to me, it is the diamond in the rough. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people may talk about it in a negative terms, but I've never been anywhere else where there is such a strong sense of community, and then people just know when what time we all get together and talk and just keep it rolling, man. So New Bedford, I love you and can't wait. I'll probably see you guys in a couple of months or so.
Yeah. Yes. And that would be wild.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything to say about Joe Dias? Because I'm trying to get him on the podcast,
Oh
man.
man, Joe, he needs to be on. Joe
He's
Dias with his, I remember the pigeon toe, the pigeon
yeah,
toe
yeah,
block when he played
yeah. Even even the U.S. Army couldn't straighten that out, man.
right.
But I definitely I have something on him, right? I have something that is once I tell him what I have, there's no doubt
He's gonna
he
come
will
on.
be on this podcast immediately. So I'm gonna try to make it May or June, and but I have something on them that I'm gonna use and get them on here. So,
All right. Well, good luck to you, man.
all right, thank you for all you do. Thank you for you know coming on the podcast, making time for me because guys like you, guests like you, make my podcast so much better, and I truly, truly appreciate it, man.
And I appreciate you, brother.
All right, and so take care, and you need anything from me, just call me. You got my number now. Anything, anything whatsoever, and all I can say is yes or no. And for you,
Hey,
I'm gonna try my
absolutely.
hardest to say yes.
All right, my man.
All right, take
Take
care,
good.
Scott.
Take good
All
care.
right,
Take
all
care, man.
right,
Later.
awesome, man. All right, everyone. That was Scott Jenkins, man. Definitely one of the cream of the crop in the neighborhood. He definitely did his thing for himself, his family, and it's a tremendous athlete, good hands, truly, truly, um, a gentleman's gentleman, right? If that makes any sense. He uh he was, you see the smile, you see that the thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Linda, thank you. Thank you for babysitting one of my good friends. I truly know because of you, you did a great job. Um, Babysitting Scott and Michael must have been a struggle, right? That's like babysitting Charlie and Kevin. We're gonna go at it. We're gonna have fun. Michael is a bigger dude, but you know what? It's babysitting, right? You did a good job, and thank you. Thank you for joining us also. So next week, no guest set up right now. So I got to fill in the blanks. I'm definitely going to work on that. Um, Later on in the month, we have Paul Gomes coming on. We have a few others. I have another author coming on. She's going to revisit the podcast. Has a new book out. We have Katrina on, Katrina Gay, and from the Virginia area. She's going to come on. But I truly, truly appreciate everyone here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube supporting this podcast every single week. Um, and no doubt that I'm going to try to do the best I can when it comes to guests. And if you truly want somebody on the podcast, just send me a message. Put in the comment section. Like today, we had Ronald Montero, Raja or Ronald Montero. I forget what it was, by MB Criollo. I appreciate that. And I'm going to reach out. I'm definitely going to reach out because those are Randy Montero. Sorry. Um, and get Randy on here. I'll do everything as a guest, and you're spending your time watching this. I truly want to get the people that you want on this podcast. So I will reach out to them and be Criollo. If you know how to reach out to them, send me something in my inbox. If you have Facebook or put in anything, get in touch with me. My email is reallycharliepodcast@gmail.com. Reallycharliepodcast@gmail.com. And just send me some info. All right. Thank you, everyone. So, as Corey Stelmark said, Celtics on. So, I'm going to go and watch my team win, try to make it 2-0, and, and keep the pace going, right? One game at a time. Tatum's back. My boy is back. I love it. Love to see it. And they're doing well. All right, everyone. Take care. God bless. And I will talk to you guys next week.